Hey everybody, I'm Jody Vance.
And I'm George Affleck.
And like no time has passed and really nothing's happened. It's time for the big return to
UnSpun Season 8. Season 8. I mean, I think I always look at those shows, those reality shows, and they do double counts for seasons. So, the fall seasons, like Survivor, they're like season 6,000 or something. I'm like, wait a minute, I think I started watching that like 20 years ago, but they're on season 45 because so are we
they do
season
two a year.
8? Yeah, are we season because we could say we had
16.
3 seasons, 4 seasons, seven, because we do it all year round pretty much, all seasons. So four times 2000, January 2018. So what's that math? Let's go with season 24.
Season 24 on Spud Podcast. This is where we take the spin out of the headlines. This is where we talk through some of the things that should be landing on our kitchen table, but everybody's so busy listening to a murder podcast. With all due respect to the murder podcast, you're not really learning about the things in government that you should be aware of before the top of your head pops off at the headline. And you know what, George? It's tough to choose where to begin, but why don't we walk people through some of the things that have happened since our last podcast that we did?
Well, you got trapped in China. Not the greatest
Oh,
place for a journalist to get trapped. I mean, usually when somebody
that
doesn't come back from China, you're like, oh, good. What's happened?
yeah, Air Canada, thank you. Thank you. I got caught in just that little window of
Yeah.
like not gonna
Yeah.
lie, it was a little bit stressful there for a minute, but the people that I was working with at International Sports Broadcast, I was doing the World Games in Chengdu, China, which was unbelievable and such a pleasant surprise in the whole experience of what it was like going to and being in China and the wonderful people of Chengdu. It was really quite something. But the idea of being stuck, because I traveled through Beijing, the idea of being, rather stranded with no real idea of how long I might be there with an expiring visa, as you point out, a media
Hmm.
working visa that I had. Yeah, I was a little bit nervous, but ISB they pivoted. It was not Air Canada who got me out of China. It was the CEO of ISB making the maneuver, and I actually flew back on China Airlines. And
Oh, okay.
I flew through Taipei. You know
Oh.
what? If you're a
Hmm.
nervous flyer, always good to fly across the waters where there are military uh, uh, actions happening most of the time.
Yeah, I lived
It
in
was
Taiwan in '89, so it was interesting time to be there right after right during Tiananmen. Like that happened while I was in Taiwan.
But
So
what an experience, George, to travel from here to China, stayed there for the better part of 3 weeks,
yeah,
then traveled to Taipei, stayed there for the better part of a day. I mean, I didn't leave the airport,
right.
but got a view of
Oh,
it because
okay.
it was during the day. And then I flew
Hmm.
to Seattle direct and had to drive or be driven back from my partner from Seattle to Vancouver. That instead of flying Chengdu, Beijing, Beijing, Vancouver. I had to take that other route. And I have to tell you, as much as it sounds unbelievably stressful, and it was to a degree, made some lemonade, man. And it all worked out. And every customs check and every security check, I kept saying, I've got a couple things to declare. I bought a new little video camera thingy, a DJI Osmo 3 pocket camera that's like an ENG camera that's
Yeah,
about
yeah. I
this
got one of
big. It's
those.
super cool. There
Yeah.
you go.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I kept saying, I bought this. And they're like, yeah, welcome. And I'm like, okay. It was just really,
Why am I not being
uh,
arrested? I thought everybody was
yeah.
being
Well, like,
arrested.
so there was that spin. So it was kind of an unspun Chinese
Right.
experience. And that's not to say that, I mean, this is a very large country I'm talking about here, billions of people. Chengdu is 22 million people. My experience in that city was really surprising. So it was the unspun Chinese
Hmm.
experience. Enough about me, though. Like, what else is happening? The Air Canada strike happened. We
Lots
got
of
to talk
strikes.
about, right?
Lots.
The Canada Post is always on teetering on the edge. And now
Yeah.
BCGEU, that's big.
What I don't understand is don't we have a lovely left-wing government that's pro-union and got supported by the unions and won
I
because the
know.
unions? What's happening? I don't understand. Are they not? What's going?
What's happening? Take the spin out of it for me, George. What do you see happening here?
Well, I just think it's everybody's with what's been happening these last few years. I think people want more money. I think there's the issue of working from home,
Yeah,
working, all that's starting to seep up, I think, with a lot of government organizations where they're starting to say, come back to the office. And in the case of some crown corporations, for example, and this is the argument some senior people make is that, hey, we got staff, in order to have competent staff, across the province, we can't have them all come into Vancouver or into Burnaby or wherever that head office for whatever department or crown corporation is. Gives the government flexibility, not to mention a savings in space for us as taxpayers. But I guess the ultimate question is, are they working hard enough? But I think they are. I mean, I think there's a lot of I don't, we work from home. I have an office as
yeah.
well. I'm in my office now, which I prefer to
Yeah.
work in, but you know,
I'm in
we
my
don't,
kitchen.
yeah, but nobody's tracking our mouse moves. But in government, they do. They do. They have all these little tools to track stuff like that. And maybe there's a ways to scam it, but they're pretty strict.
Right. But I watched a lot of people in office environments playing Candy Crush. I mean,
That's right.
so
And
I
talking
think
to each other.
personally, for sure, almost ad nauseum, really.
Yeah,
For me, it's like set set the bar of work output. If you complete these
right.
tasks and complete them
Yeah.
well, I don't care if you get them done in an hour.
That's
If
a
it
very
takes you 16
that's a very
hours to do it,
freelance mindset, entrepreneurial
yeah,
mindset you have there, Jody. That's why
yeah,
you've been in your job for so long. Never had one
that's
job.
right.
Never had one job.
No, no.
Hmm.
And now I'm at 10 years now. This will be my 10th year not working for
The man.
one. Yeah. And
Right.
and it's interesting because you almost have to teach yourself to take a vacation because when you're
Yeah,
working from
I don't.
home,
Yeah.
right? You don't.
Always working.
And when you
Always
do, it's
working.
like, "Meh."
Hmm. I mean, I think
And
my new
people,
setup with my business now is
yeah,
the way I built it since COVID. I can now travel and work, and clients don't even know where I am.
yeah,
We've
you're
done
good
our
at it.
podcasts, from everywhere in the world now. So
Totally.
it's thanks to Zoom, really. Hashtag
Yeah.
Zoom sponsorship available.
Hashtag Zoom.
So I
Very
think I
funny.
love it, but I
So
get
the
it.
BCGEU strike seems very acrimonious off the hop, which strikes always do. But this one felt like, you know what? Even before we go on strike, we're not going to deliver this booze to these restaurants to do the thing. It's like, oh God, okay.
Yeah,
And it always comes down to the liquor stores. Isn't that
that's
it's so
right. It
funny?
touches us personally.
It does. We're all like,
You don't have to file my taxes, but where's my bottle of Jack Daniels? Oh, I can't have that.
where's
Right.
my
Where I can't have
neutral?
that.
Totally. So where do we see this going?
I
We
think
saw
it's
the
escalating. It's escalating, of course.
it's
They're in
escalating.
front of the finance minister's office today. Yeah, they'll probably hit the liquor stores on Saturday or Friday night or something.
Probably.
Yeah, I
But
don't know.
interesting though, like with Air Canada, when they were legislated back to work and the flight attendants were like, no, I'm sorry, but no. I found that to be wild to take in. Like the compliant Canadian is gone, right?
Right.
Because I mean, and justifiably so for some of us who believe that you should be paid for all of the hours that you work. I mean, in being stranded by Air Canada, I didn't feel like the flight attendants stranded me. I feel like the company did. They knew this
Right.
was coming. They said, well, maybe we'll give you 50% of the time that you spend when the plane isn't in the air. Like planes are spending more and more time stuck and waiting and delayed and maybe not happening at all,
Well, what I
ever
hate is they
since
close those
COVID.
doors when you're on a plane so fast. It's only because once they close the door, they start getting paid. How many
Right.
times have like sorry, you can't come into the plane, and you're like, but it's sitting right there. No, we close the doors. You're like, well, open the doors. No, I can't because then we gotta turn the clock back on for the flight attendants. You're like, this is dumb. But
It
it's
is dumb.
I love their argument though. Is well, this is the way we've always done it. You're like, well, okay, so
That'll get you
what?
fired if you work for Scott Moore. Literally, Scott
It's the
Moore
way
hired
we've
me at
always done it.
Sportsnet. He was like, "There's three things that'll get you fired. Don't call me Scotty. Don't put me on TV, and don't tell me like we're doing it because that's the way we've always been doing
Yeah,
it."
I
That
love
was a
that.
lesson I learned in my late 20s, and it stuck with me. It's so dumb to say, "Well, that's just the way we do it." What other things that
I
happened over this summer? Because we could talk for hours here to catch up.
right.
Obviously, Mark Carney won. Pierre Poilievre embarrassed and then needed to run. He needed to boot a conservative in Alberta in order to take that riding, and he
Yeah.
won.
100 people running against him. Yeah, he won, and
That
but he's
long
really
ballot thing was
yeah,
weird.
this is crazy. And he got 80% of the vote or something. He's really
Of course
having
he
a
did.
tough time finding his footing now, though. I think,
Yeah,
he's got a leadership review coming up. I would predict that this guy, if he lasts a year, I'd be surprised. I still
really.
think I think the knives are coming out in the caucus. You can sense it. We always
Yeah,
talk about this. If you lose your caucus, you're toast. You're
yeah.
toast. So, I think that's starting to happen. And I think, a leadership review, he might make it through this one. Give me another chance. But what do you stand for? What did Carney stole, as the Liberals do, steal all of the good ideas and make them their own. But right now, I would say we have probably the most conservative government we've ever had in Canada. I mean, the
But see, that's
things,
just the thing, George. Like, as a centrist, look at a government that takes the best ideas that are brought to the table by the taxpayer paid representatives of our ridings across
Mhm.
this great country, it being a conservative idea or a liberal idea, or like, how about it's an idea that Canadians should and could consider and
This is
possibly put into play?
this
Like
is
the
why this is
rhetoric
why
that
you'll never be a politician, Jody.
I will never be a politician, but it's also a reason why I look at the Pierre Poilievres of the world, and I've listened to him for years and years
Mhm.
and years, and I've helped pay his salary for years and years and years, and I've never really seen him do anything but complain about the
Mhm.
other, right? Like, and I seriously, and that doesn't mean I loved Justin Trudeau, because I did not love Justin Trudeau, but I certainly would, when given the choice between those two people, I would have chosen the one who had some kind of connection when traveling the world or representing Canada. Like, there was nothing that spoke to me from Poilievre's rhetoric that said, yeah, you should go out on the world stage and say that. You know what I mean? And now we're looking at happening down in the US, that straw man kind of, uh, that is an option in Canada. Canadians went, no,
Yeah.
no,
I just
no.
love the fact that finally they're doing what I've been saying for years, which is build, 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 build. How do you think you will
Right.
get anything
You
that you
have been.
have as a Canadian if you don't build the stuff that gets our stuff out of here to make money so that we can
Yeah.
have the lifestyle that we're used to and
You have
the
been saying
homes that
that for
we live
24,
in?
yeah, 24 seasons. Yeah.
Finally, we might see some pipelines so that trains don't crash and derail and pour oil and gas all over neighborhoods or whatever. Come on, it's time to
It
move
was the
on.
Liberals, though, that greenlit the twinning of the pipeline that's
They bought
complete,
it.
wasn't it?
They bought it.
Yeah,
They bought
right.
it. Yeah. But
So
they
just
did
to,
turn down the other one. So to East
but I
Coast. So
mean, one still got built. So the people that are like, nothing gets built under
yeah.
these liberals,
Yeah. You're right.
actually they do, and some things get built
Hmm.
under a conservative government. I'm sure we could find something.
Well, nothing's getting built in BC by the NDP government, that's for sure. And I think
Site
that
C,
is that's not theirs. Not none of the only
but
project
it
that they've
got
done
finished. I
is
don't know. I'm not
yeah, it
protecting
did
it. I'm
get
just
finished.
saying,
You're
like,
right.
give
You're
me
right.
give me
You're
an
right.
example.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that comes
yeah.
to mind.
LNG
But the
and Site
ferry,
C and the bridge to New Westminster. They can take credit for that one.
right?
They
Where's
do.
the tunnel?
That could have been finished 3 years ago.
I
The
know.
stupid bridge, my God, people. Anyways, so they have done nothing in that. You clearly, if we'll come bring up, the EB back, they back home, and I think the BCGEU is part of that. People are not really
Yeah.
happy with EB right now, and
No. Do you think there might be an election?
well, that's what some of the conservatives hope. I think because if there was an election today, the BC Conservatives would win easily.
You under John Rustad?
Yeah, yeah. Well, he's the
You
Nigel
think so?
Farage of
He's
personality
what?
plus. He's the Nigel Farage. It just shows you that, no offense to John Rustad, but he's not the greatest personality. But then you look at Nigel Farage in England, the guys are like just wooden, like whatever, and he's killing it there.
Yeah.
It doesn't,
I
it
don't
just
think
shows
I
you
don't think
politics
British
is just,
Columbia.
about not
Sorry.
about just about personality. It's also about, what you stand for, focus, policy ideas, really showing how do you, it's not just about looks and good, good looks and
I don't
charm.
I think the worst look for John Rustad is the fact that his big tent party has some crazy in it. Like denialism of residential schools and tinfoil hat wearing, and Wi-Fi is going to give you COVID or cancer or whatever, and LGBTQ2S plus, uh, you know, snipers. Like, it's just wild.
Some of those
Um,
people have left the party, but yeah, there's definitely
but there needs to
some.
be a leader who denounces that as it happens. Like
But
there needs to be
is
no
there? Don't you think that people want that
fringe.
now? It seems like people want it.
I personally think that British Columbians writ large do not want that. I believe
I
that.
wish I could agree.
I know. I'm just going to put it out there. That's my
I
belief.
will say my time
If
in
they tightened,
politics.
if they tightened that fringe and moved just slightly to the center, I believe the Conservatives would win in a landslide.
Yeah,
If
I think
they
they've
tightened
been.
the, but
Yeah,
I don't think John Rustad's the guy.
we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, it
Yeah, I
depends when they call
guess.
an election. I mean, it really comes down to the Green Party and what they want to decide here. So we'll see. But
Right.
so they still hold the balance of power. But
Yeah.
it's what do they stand for? I don't even know. But there's a new Conservative Party of Vancouver, I've been told.
Before we go there, can I just ask you about the immigration piece from EB? And because they're starting yesterday, there was a press briefing where he was talking about a bunch of stuff, but he was like, I guess we do need to look into the foreign worker program and immigration. But he didn't really say how he wanted to look into it. Like,
Yeah, I'm anti. I don't want to be anti-immigration, but
no, no.
I hear it's popular. No, this is Rustad thing or EB thinking in
Oh,
his mind. But I have to. But that seems to be the way everybody wants politicians to be now. So how do I become anti-immigration without being anti-immigration?
right.
I
While
mean,
still
it's
needing all of those foreign workers to run all of the care homes and hospitals and
and all
basically
the
do every job that 95% of British Columbians refuse to do.
do you want your wine? How do you think those grapes get taken care of? I mean,
Yeah.
it's everywhere, and I think it's interesting to see that challenge. And I think there's all the conservative movement for sure talks about the massive immigration into Canada during that, during the Trudeau years, 2, 3 million people coming in.
Yeah.
The argument is, who are these people? Where do they come from? What's their qualifications?
Or where do they live and how do we care for them if they get sick? How do we as a country who already struggled with housing affordability and healthcare issues?
back to the back to the big pipelines and start making some money.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Right.
I mean, we
Yeah.
need people. We're
We
not
need
having
people.
enough babies.
Yeah.
So not no Western industrialized country is. So Japan has proven that a population decrease really stalls your economy. So
Yeah.
and zero immigration. So how do you deal with that as a society? People want to come to Canada. They want to live here. It's a safe place.
I'm an immigrant,
Um,
daughter of an immigrant. I wouldn't be
yeah,
here
me
without
too.
them.
Son
I
of
wouldn't.
a.
Yeah.
I mean, she was
So
Welsh, so I don't know how controversial that is, but
Yugoslav
um,
Danish. We bring the aquavit and we're prepared to drink it. So we're going to the liquor store before the BCGEU strike hits. Okay, let's talk about the new
having lived in
Conservative
Denmark
Party.
and consumed a lot of aquavit
It's
and
very good.
gameldansk, which is horrible.
So good.
No,
So good.
well,
It's
anyways,
terrible. It's terrible, but it's so
terribly
good.
good. It's a breakfast drink.
Right? You have that and a posa and you're good. Yeah. So let's talk about this new Conservative Party Vancouver. What's happening here?
Well, I think it's interesting. This campaign, this election next year is going to be. I mean, there's the Liberal Party of Vancouver. There's the Conservative Party of Vancouver. There's ABC. There's One City. There's the team for Livable Vancouver. Is
Cope.
Vision going to come back? The Cope.
Yeah.
These are just the parties I'm remembering.
Right.
NPA, will they come back? It's a bit mad, a bit crazy, um, and it's really a statement about Ken Sim's lack of leadership. I would say the likelihood of Ken Sim as winning as he did not in 2018, even though his party did win. When he was head of NPA, he lost, but the whole
Right.
party won and majority on all levels. But he didn't win as a mayor. It's likely going to happen again next year if he stays on as ABC's leader. I think nobody likes this guy. The data is true. I see it all the time. There's polling that's going to be happening soon. I will show some of that data. I just think that there's,
What do
it's
you think it is about Ken Sim that makes him so unpopular?
I'll just take my 24-year-old son. He's cringe. That's what anybody in your
Yeah.
20s, I don't know what your son says, but if you ask
He says
somebody young
cringe.
who
Yeah.
generally my son votes, but generally they don't vote, but they just look at this guy, go, ugh. I go, but at least you
I
know who
got a
he is.
17-year-old and
At
he's
least,
like, he is super sus.
yes,
Like the
sus.
backdrop, yeah, the
Hmm.
backdrop of like hardcore band signage, like on stage, literally negative graffiti about the mayor of Vancouver. Like there's a whole movement of these young people, like you said, that are just like,
Yeah,
there's nowhere to live. I can't afford to live anywhere. And they really blame the state of our city and even many things, frankly, that lie at the feet of our provincial and federal governments. They do lay it all at the feet of our municipal government, just as a
I,
starting point. So
I will say though, the housing issue is an interesting one, and in Vancouver specifically right now,
yeah.
because we've got the what 4,000 units coming online, rental units coming online over the next year. Rental prices have already gone down, partly because people are moving out of BC, but also because there's all these rental projects that are coming on. This young woman I know is 24. She just got into and she's smart. She got into that new development on Granville and Broadway. Beautiful apartment, $1,400 a month. 1,400 bucks.
Whoa.
As
For
long
what,
as
a
she
studio?
makes, no, one bedroom,
Okay.
16th floor, beautiful view. It's an amazing building if you ever have a chance to go see it. And
That's
she's
the
got it's the one with the
southeast corner.
loblaw. It's the new one, the super big tower.
Yeah. So the southeast corner of Broadway and Granville.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
giant one. Can't miss it. So
Yeah. It's giant.
but once she makes more than $70,000 a month or a year, her rent goes. So it's based on her income. So it's
So
that's
it's like what a co-op is,
kind
right?
of, yeah. But they
Which
have
makes
caps
sense.
on the top
I
end.
have people who I know who have lived in co-ops for years and years and literally turned down jobs so that they can keep the low rent space in the co-op.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like, ew,
yeah. I don't
don't
think
do
she's
that.
going to be that person. She's pretty
No,
ambitious.
no, no. I
But
wasn't
no, no, I
suggesting
know,
that
I
she
know.
was, but it's
I've
like,
heard of those people. Yeah, totally. Like,
makes
and
me a
it,
little bit crazy. I want affordable places for people to live, that people who are working hard and trying to find their way. And frankly, I've said this a million times, and I know you have said it with me and agree that, if I go up a tax bracket, it's because I'm making more. So therefore, I can afford the tax bracket that then pays for the people who perhaps can't yet hit that. There's a reason why. Like there's some taxes that we don't see any benefit from, and then
hmm
there are others that make sense, right?
yeah.
Like if I'm making more, then you can take some more. I get it, but like let's
I mean,
be
if there's a
fiscally
loophole,
responsible with my. Oh, if there's a loophole, we're diving through it like this.
but yeah,
For
I
sure.
agree.
I've
I'm
done.
happy to live in the country that is Canada and pay my fair share to have the society that we live in. I don't have a problem. I don't even think about. I try to pay as
No.
little tax as I can based on taxation systems, but I'm not sitting there going, trying to scam. Like it's just, I respect the fact that we live in a really great country that has all this stuff, and I think a
I
lot of
tell you
people
that
don't.
going to China definitely gave me a new appreciation for what we have here, and frankly, what we complain about. Um, it changes when you're far enough away that you see how good you got it, and you don't know what you got until you get away from it a little bit.
Hmm
But I would say, and I think you'll find this pretty funny, because 24 seasons ago when we started this podcast, I was super anti-tower, right? Like I don't want to live in a tower. I'm not interested in living in a tower. I don't want you building a tower. There's gentle density. There's a reason why. Look at London. Look at Paris. Look at Madrid. Look at all these places. Look at Denmark. Look at the places where gentle density is working. Even in Ladner, it's working. And in Vancouver, we were just tower, tower, tower talk. And now we see that, with some of the major um, developments across the city, and some have really pissed off the
hmm
NIMBYs, right? I mean, the NIMBYs and the YIMBYs going head to head and have been for forever. And the Broadway plan, I'm sure we'll talk a lot about the Broadway plan coming up. And you and I have discussed the why of the having a lot of density down Broadway. It's like the second downtown for this major city. I found myself, George, and you would have laughed. Just last week, I'm sitting on my patio with a couple of friends, and the conversation turned to towers. And you wouldn't want a 21-story tower,
Well,
right in your neighborhood. And I looked at them and I'm like, well, yeah, actually, I think that's a good spot for a tower. And
No.
I know, ding, 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 ding. But because we got so busy saying no to the laneway houses and no to the gentle density in the single family dwelling places, we've spent 15 years saying no to everything, stalling everything. Then nobody had any place to go or any place to
Hmm.
live. So
Hmm.
now we're seeing, the pendulum is swinging and the developments, some that have been stalled for a long time, happening. But interesting, in the one development that had none of the city hall red tape because it's on First Nations land, Senok went up like,
Yep.
and it's
There's
huge.
yeah,
It's
and
massive.
and challenged financially by the look of things, but because of Gillespie selling his shares to the to the fund. But yeah, it's definitely I think that there obviously density and the right density in the right place. That's something I always argued. And
You're living in it,
yeah, I live in a tower, but I live in a townhouse. Things like
right?
row houses, fee simple row houses, still really hard to build anywhere in this province. Ridiculous. Why can't we have a row house that I own and it's stuck to the next one? And it's really complicated. It's a provincial regulation, not a city one. These kinds of
Municipal one, yeah,
ideas, like, and the fact that now only just now are we allowing the possibility of having a strata laneway home. Like I would ask this in
right.
council for the entire time I was there. Why? Why? No, because
Because
because of the electricity. I'm like, what? Because of what? Because and I'm like, this sounds ridiculous, and it was because it turns out it wasn't true, and they can do it easily enough. You just got to
yeah,
subdivide, and that's the decision by the city and the province, and it's not that hard. And
it's
then you
not that
can
hard.
underwrite the cost. You
Do
can
you
live
think
in
that Gregor Robertson, being in the provincial position that he's in now, that
federal. Yes.
he will make good on the stuff that he blocked as mayor?
Well, he's taking a lot of his ideas and making them national. So I worry though that there's, things like, the real focus of a lot of center and left of center politicians is to encourage rental. And I sent you some data on the massive increase in rental construction versus
Right. I want to have a look at that.
home ownership over the last 13 years. It's insane. And in politics, there's a general stat that if there are more renters in your city or in your whatever places that vote for you, they vote left. For whatever reason,
If
renters
there, say
vote
that again, if there's more renters,
renters
they
tend to
vote.
vote center left as
Okay.
opposed to center right.
I can see
Owners
that.
vote. So there literally was a strategy by Vision Vancouver. They would always deny this, but that the encouragement of more rental construction at the cost of the taxpayers of the city, the subsidies that are still in place and haven't been taken away by ABC, which is to encourage rental development, which clearly based on the data I sent you, which is maybe you can read that. I don't
It's
have it.
massive.
It's
Okay, I'll put
massive.
it up.
Is
Hold
you
on, hold
don't
on.
need to encourage rental construction because it's happening. So stop it. It's happening.
Right.
And because these trust funds are not trust funds, but these massive funds, these pension funds these are good rental buildings are a great investment. You can have a return on investment per year around 5%. And if you're a pension fund, that's a really good ROI. You can pay $1 billion for this building with the billions, if not trillions in some cases. Like that's so much money, these pension funds. They're trying to find
Yeah.
safe investments. So they're putting a lot of it into rental construction. That's where a lot of that money,
The teachers
teachers,
pension fund
Ontario's pension fund.
owns the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like that's how much
That's right.
money.
They want
So just have a
predictable
look at
growth.
this graph if you're watching on
Yeah, it's like,
Crazy. And the caption here is in 2012, Canada was building 12 rental units for every 100 units intended for ownership. Today, Canada is building 88 rentals for every 100 ownership units. Parabolic growth in rentals over the last 13 years, and it's just gone through the roof. It's
so if
at
you believe,
almost 90%.
yeah,
Yeah,
and so if you believe my data, then that will push the electorate to the left, which will,
right.
it seems like that's not possible, but it is because I think if you, and this is not a criticism of renters or intelligence, but if you have a skin in the game, you tend to go, well, that's my money. And that generally, for whatever reason, pushes you to the right center, to the center right of the political spectrum. And so there is this tension over the years to look at how do we build market rental units by many governments, not only here, but certainly in Canada, that's an example, that will ensure left of center governments or center and center left of governments for the long term. And I think what we're seeing as we see the divisiveness in the States, and we're seeing it happening in Canada and England, and it's part of that. It's like this, okay, we're gaming the system here. Because I'm a
Right.
belief in, I'm somewhat of a libertarian, like let the market decide these things. I've always said, don't worry, everybody, the market's going to crash and you will have for your cheap rental. Wouldn't matter if it was strata owned or owned by whoever. It's a supply and demand, but it's also based on market, the market. And right now the market's crashed, and there's nobody's buying anything. Everybody's like, okay, I'll just live with my mom and dad, or wherever these people are living. They're not moving here. The problem with this, because we were talking pre-show, the only problem with this when the market crashes in the market economy, and I've talked about this before, is when the market crashes, that's when the government should step in. They shouldn't be ingrained in when times are good and the market economy is building stuff. You set back, you save the cash. The market crashes, you insert yourself, you build more housing. In the case of housing, you build more housing as a government to ensure a stability of growth. Because right now, what happened is that the government, certainly let's say Vancouver specifically, gave away so much money to the developers during the good times. They didn't need to do that. Developers were building stuff just fine. But hey, they said, oh, free money, we'll take it. We'll build rental.
Yeah.
Sure, sure, sure. They were building strata, but we'll build rental. So now markets crashed. Guess what developers are doing? Oh, well, I'm not going to build anything. I can't take the risk. I'm not going to do it. You can give me as many subsidies as you want, but I'm not going to do it. What happens, and this happened in 2008, it happened in 2001, you just look at the bottleneck, suddenly they're not building. And then in 5 years, when all these things weren't put through the process, we said, because all this stuff coming online was approved years ago. Like when I was in office, that stuff's coming online now. So 2018, a lot of that stuff is now coming online. The one in the First Nation stuff, that was all when I was in council. That stops. And then you end up in 5 years with nothing in the pipeline. And
I'm going to
then
add one
prices skyrocket.
I'm going to add one little caveat to this that is missed in that breakdown is as a long time renter in Vancouver, like I did not buy my first house until I was in my mid 30s, and that was in Toronto, and it was a duplex for I thought I'd have to live there for the rest of my life. It was so expensive. But I lived as a renter here in Vancouver all of my young adult life, and every single place that I lived in as a renter has been for years now converted into a condo. So the rental stock that once existed, that serviced an entire portion of the population, flipped into an owned condominium at 5 times the price. So that pushed people not just out of those rentals, but literally out of the city, and in some cases onto the street, sadly. People literally have nowhere to go. Like there's nowhere to go. And then you added the foreign buyers into the situation. And again, not a racist thing, just a holy shit of hollowed out neighborhoods of nobody living there because we're parking our money in a safe investment in a beautiful city. And it's great to have there. And we'll pay the tax on it being empty and blah, 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 blah. And then, walking down, our neighborhoods that ended up having storefronts closing 20 at a time because there's nobody living here anymore because nobody can afford to live here anymore. And the people that are living here are spending all of their money on where they're living and can't go out for like there's this crazy equation that needs to be sorted, and the pendulum, as you say, is swinging, madly from one direction to the other. And I absolutely do not have the answer to this, but I'm just in talking it through with you over these years and watching around me, I'm excited by some of the building that's happening, both rental and investment. It scares me that investment properties in condos are nosediving to the point that like the whole market is crashed in condos at the moment here in Toronto. But when you think about what those condos were selling for, like that was also unsustainable. Like there was no way for it to continue to go up like that. We watched it happen in San Francisco. We've seen it happen in Hong Kong. We've seen it happen in New York. Like we've
Yeah, but
watched
yeah,
that
I
happen.
agree.
So
And
there's
yeah,
a lot to it. Just for our listeners, because I'm not arguing with you. I'm just like
yeah.
just
No, and
adding
it's
some context there.
government's job. It should be about creating a consistency. If you're going to get
Yeah.
ingrain yourself in the market economy, you have to pull
Yes.
back when you don't need to be inserted there, and when times are
I
tough,
agree
you
with you.
insert yourself.
Yeah.
And right now, times are tough, but not
Yeah.
necessarily for if you're looking to buy right now, great time to buy, or
Great
it's
time to buy.
prices are down 20,
Yeah.
30%. The
Yeah.
incentives are crazy. great time to rent right now. Potentially, it's getting better and better. Down
Potentially.
10 or 20% over the year.
Last
But this,
September, my stepdaughter was looking, and your son
yeah,
were
they couldn't
looking for
find a
places,
place.
and it was
Right.
ridiculous. And
So,
today, it's not as ridiculous. Still ridiculous,
so
but it's not
knowing that though,
as
great,
ridiculous.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Now the economy, the market economy is doing its job. But
Yes.
now what the government should be doing, and they can't, is they have to think, okay, what do we need to make sure that these now the developers have stopped. They're all stopping. They're not putting anything. If you go to City Hall, you'll just see like canceled, 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 canceled. And so the government needs to go, okay, how do we make sure that in the next 3 years, new stuff starts still coming online? Otherwise, we're going to have this bottleneck again. And we're going to have this
Again. Yeah. Yeah.
massive.
No, I hear you. I hear you.
So they're not, but they're not doing it.
Somebody's got
They're
to
not doing
figure it
it.
out.
They're not doing it.
Somebody's got to
They don't have
figure
any
it out.
money.
You know
They
what I
spent it
figured
all.
out? We're 3 minutes over already. We haven't even mentioned US politics. So we'll have to save that for next week, George.
I think people know enough about that one, don't they?
Don't they? I think they do. You know what? Like and subscribe down below. It's UnSpun Podcast. It comes out every Thursday. We will get it to you on Thursdays. We're back, baby. Felt good. It was like a therapy session, George. You can follow George on his social media. I like him on Twitter. He is at George
Underscore
Affleck. I'm at Jody Vance, Jody with a Y, at Jody Vance on Twitter and on Instagram. Lots of stories to be found and told on our social medias. George, you're also on TikTok. We're both on TikTok as well.
Yeah, mostly marketing though, but yeah, I mean,
We're cool like that. Curve Communications.
you're doing a lot
go.
of stuff on TikTok now. I noticed. Yeah.
Yeah, more. Couldn't do it from China though. Couldn't access it.
That's ironic. That's ironic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even mention Kids Pool today. We'll have to get back to that next week.
People are
as
going to
well.
be shocked.
They just need to calm down. Believe me, I'll still be on it next season when it opens again.
Why did it open until October 1st? It used to be. Anyways.
They kept it open for an extra week, but keeping it on reservations and sessions. There are a bunch of takes.
Anyways, you got it in.
Anyways, see you later. Bye.
You did it. See ya.